You, yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you for having me today. So Facebook, as really a distribution platform, our focus is the power of sight, sound, and motion with video, right? The best way to tell stories is through video, and we are really trying to connect the stories of the world. The second piece that we're really focused on is mobile. You've seen over the past few years, we've really pivoted to a mobile-first company, and we're really helping our partners try to understand what that means in terms of distributing content in that space and also creating ads and being able to get the messages out in a scrolling and on-the-go world.
Good morning, Jennifer Dorian Turner. I do represent Turner Classic Movies, but I'm also here today to talk about Turner's first SVOD service in the United States, which is called Filmstruck. How we got there is, as you heard, there's already been a big wave of TV streaming, but we think there's an opportunity to be the next wave of niche, independent services. So if you'd like to take a look at Filmstruck, we'll talk more about it.
Okay.
You said do it now, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
We have something to show you. And as a quick update, what's the current launch plan for Filmstruck?
This fall.
Okay, this
We're
fall.
busy.
All right.
Great. Well, we don't have a video, but that looked really nice. And before I start, I just do want to comment that I have been out-shoed here on the podium. If you look at these shoes from Michael, they're fantastic. And I want them because they're purple and Roku's colors are purple. But we can talk about that later. Hi, everybody. My name's Ed Lee. I'm the Vice President of Content Acquisition for Roku. Thank you very much for having us. Certainly appreciate it. Just before we kind of get started, would love to understand how many people have actually heard of Roku before? Show of hands. All right, that's a good start. And how many people actually have a Roku? All right. I'm looking at all of you who don't have one yet. You guys need to get one. So Roku, for those of you who don't know, we are the leading streaming media platform in the United States. We currently believe that all media will be streamed in the future, and as a result of that, all content will be streamed, and as a result, all advertising will be streamed. We're big believers in streaming, obviously. And Roku actually distributes our platform in 3 different ways. First, we distribute the platform through our own hardware, so we sell boxes and streaming sticks at retail. We also license our platform to TV manufacturers, OEMs, and they integrate the Roku operating system directly into TVs. So we have a line of smart TVs out in the marketplace with about 6 different OEM partnerships. And then thirdly, we license the platform to operators. So we currently have a couple relationships internationally, one with Sky in the UK and in Germany and Austria and Italy, and then we also have a partnership with Telstra in Australia. And we'll talk more about Roku as we get into the panel.
Hey, Michael.
Thank you. Mike Tribolet, CEO and co-founder of YipTV, yes. And you can get your title put on the side, too.
Oh, wow.
And the shoes, yeah. So it's one of the things.
Oh, the other one's white? No?
Yeah, kind of mixed.
Very cool.
The good news, this venture, it's purple. Last venture, I'm one of the original founders of a company called Vonage, and yes, I was responsible for Orange and the Woohoo song. So, but anyways, apologize for that. But here what we see is we're the fastest growing OTT in the Hispanic space, bringing live television from around the world. They're home away from home. We're not really causing cord cutting because this community of 54 million do not have cable in majority of the space. Most of them are on their mobile. It's a mobile experience. It was interesting to hear virtual reality. That is coming. Hard part is finding those Oculus glasses. I challenge anyone to go to Best Buy and find one. So the cool thing is the industry is changing and the shift is happening, and this really isn't a cord cutting issue. It's just a new form of medium which people are watching their content on their time in their control within a price range that they can. So our service is an example. We now have 110 live TV channels, led with sports from BN, led on news from Azteca in Mexico, and that's all for $15 through an app. So, we continue to add more. We are linear. We're not going to, Hulu has, and Netflix, they're going to be the behemoths in the video on demand space. We're just focused on the linear space. So, and now we're into the hundreds of thousands of customers over our launch in the last 6 months.
Okay. And Martijn, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Martijn van Horssen. I'm CEO of 24i Media. I'm the founder, and we have a company that's worldwide. So we have offices here in the US, but also in Europe. So I can tell you also a little bit about what happens there. What we do is we make applications for virtually any platform that can play video based on the technology that makes it possible to develop the application once and then deploy it on a wide variety of devices and also maintain it, because there's a huge amount of fragmentation, and we solve that. One of the cool things we did last week is we make the Fox application in the Netherlands for soccer, and we announced some figures there which were quite interesting to see. What we saw there, it's a TV everywhere proposition, so you have to log in with your cable subscription. We grew from 2014 to 2016 from 2% of the viewership was TV everywhere, so the rest was cable. This year it was already 11%. So there we see a tremendous growth of going for OTT services, and our last match was 4 weeks back. It was even 16% of all viewership was through other devices than their traditional cable subscription. At the same time, we also showed the figures about the number of total subscription that was also growing. So it was not cannibalizing the cable subscriptions in any way. That was really interesting to see. Another thing that we see now is there are a lot of new entrants coming in the market. That means that you need to make apps in an efficient way. Somehow everybody knows that they want an app, but they decide really late, and then it needs to be launched in 8 weeks. That's always a challenge. So we try to find a solution where it's easy to deploy applications, but also be able that they can maintain the application themselves in the terms of the layout and the look and feel of the application. So it's easier to adapt the application based on the needs that are in the market.
Okay. Thank you. And I think just to kind of start off, let's let the panel is titled winning OTT models. So how do you win right now? Because there are already a lot of services out there. There's only so many consumers that are going to spend only so many dollars. The market gets increasingly fragmented. Obviously there's a lot of niche services, but kind of give me your sense of how are you going to attack this market and make another dent in it when there's already kind of some saturation happening. So that's forever whoever wants it, but
I'll start.
Film Structure
Sure.
right in the zone there.
First of all, thank you for inviting me to a panel entitled "Winning OTT Models," since we haven't launched a product yet.
But you're predicting
I'll take
a
the
win.
presumptive win,
Okay.
and I'll reflect that we, from the get-go, were lucky to work with, working at Turner Classic Movies. We've got 50 direct employees and hundreds of people that we work with every day who are film, as you saw it, film nerds, cinephiles, film fanatics. And this idea for Filmstruck actually was sprung from an audience desire and need. And I think that's an important ingredient for winning, is to start with a consumer problem and be addressing it with the technology and the content and the marketing. So the need is, if you're an independent foreign and art house film fan, it's hard to find the stuff all together in the right place. And certainly in a curated manner. You even heard today with Hulu, and we know from Netflix and Amazon, there's a lot of emphasis on TV. And so film has become sort of a secondary filler programming almost. And so we see an opening to be dedicated to film and film culture, and starting with the niche of independent art house and foreign film, serving them. There's 2 ways that I think we're going to be really different. We'll see if it works out. One is we're going to push a lot of bonus content forward that's text-based, articles, blogs, historic film criticism, as well as photo galleries and bonus video and audio tracks. I don't know if people will use those a lot or not. We just heard about the importance of 90 seconds to go from initiating the app to watching a movie. Maybe it's a low energy kickback thing, but I definitely, we all at TCM and Filmstruck want to learn about the opposite, which would be engagement, exploration, learning, because we think our fans want that. Secondly, we're going to try to do a tier within the service. So we'll be a basic Filmstruck service, and then we'll offer the Criterion channel as a premium tier. And we believe from our research that the Criterion channel, the Criterion collection is highly acclaimed, in demand, very high awareness among cinephiles for being important films, an important collection. And we're going to offer on-demand instant access to the entire library all the time in that tier. So it'll be really interesting to see if that works out. So the first ingredient, I think, is starting with a true consumer need. And then secondly, I think we've got to be dynamic. We've got to flex and try these different things. And then thirdly, I'm hoping that we'll be successful because we can accurately target these people and drive mind share and awareness and trial so that they know about us.
Right. And Mike, I mean, you're different because your
We're in
service is already
business.
launched.
Yeah.
You're winning.
We're launched.
Are you guys winning, and how are you doing it?
Yeah, I think the key thing is identify the niche that you're going after in the market. You have to do that. And right now, the Hispanic community is highly underserved. So if you're Latino and you say, okay, I want to go order cable as an example, they've got to pay $50 for 800 channels they're not going to watch. Then they have to buy the Latino upgrade package, which is $25, and then the stacking begins. So it's $15 to watch sports, $15 to watch novellas. So that is an immediate underserved market. So it's a barrier to entry to them to become a consumer. So what we did was we said, okay, let's focus where that is. The technology is the easy part. We've been doing this for 26 years, building to billions of minutes of traffic. As an example, on Vonage, that you dial 911, it has to connect to emergency services. This we just basically said we have to have 911 making sure that the goal plays right instantly, not 10 seconds later. Mm-hmm. So I think the key thing is identify the niche, which we have. The other thing is paying attention to the community, what channels they want. So the good news, we launched with 50 10 months ago. We've added 50 more just listening to the customer. The first 100,000 told us what they want. Now that the next couple million are going to get what they want to have, so you have that 30 to 45-second instant experience. And the final part about it was this community doesn't have banks. So this is, imagine going to a VC, hey, over on Sand Hill Road, I want you to invest $10 million in unbankables. That's a fun conversation. Trust me, I've been there, done that, and I had hair when it started. So what we did was we got started, and the key thing is we tied our systems into one of the largest cash collection agencies in these bodegas. Most of us wouldn't go to a bodega in the room, but when you go, they actually cash their check, wire money back to Mexico or Guatemala, and then they top up their calling card. Now they put over $15 and they pay for YipTV, and instantaneously they have service. So that's how you build it. You have to have all your COGS and your OpEx in line. And for us, it's subscription-based, so we can actually sustain our business.
And what's been more fun for you, over-the-top voice or over-the-top video?
Video's more fun. Voice was boring. Here it's more interesting. University of Kansas would be proud of that. But the key thing is this has been more fun because voice is a commodity. Video is worth it's like pictures worth 1,000 words, and really video is that. And now the challenge for us is bringing on more of the content, because now we have more coming at us than we actually. It was hard at the beginning. Now it's coming towards us, so it's a lot easier.
Now, Ed, you guys, I mean, you don't have a service, and there's no Hulu, SVOD service or live. Yeah, I don't know, or with Roku, but how you have I don't know how many apps you can update us on that, but how are you helping to kind of surface this so that partners can get in front of the the viewers and kind of help them find the needle in the haystack?
Sure. Yeah, actually, I wanted to just answer quickly the previous question in terms of how do you win with the OTT. Excuse me. The first step actually is to get in the game, right? I mean, you can sort of look at it from the outsider's perspective and just sort of analyze what's happening in the OTT space. You can think about it. You can draw up spreadsheets, but the only way that you can actually win is to participate. And so, we've been doing this since 2008, and we've watched sort of this transition and this evolution of the industry where it was sort of very slow. We started with Netflix, then we got Amazon Instant Video, and we got MLB, and then we got Pandora. And as the business started to grow, more and more people started to come on. We got more TV everywhere, cable networks, and now we're starting to see all these folks go over the top, like HBO and Showtime and others, and there's more coming. So really sort of embracing the opportunity, I think, is really the first step, because a lot of the barriers have been broken down. I mean, business models now, whether or not it's ad supported, whether or not it's transactional, whether or not it's subscription, whether or not it's ad sponsorships, what have you, it's all supported and it's all available out there. And so platforms like Roku and our competitors as well really offer you a way to get your content in front of audiences in a very unique way. And because content is delivered over IP, obviously everybody gets this, but now all of a sudden you can just open up that library. I mean, as we're talking about here with Turner Classic Movies, right? I mean, now all of a sudden, I mean, sort of the world is their oyster. They can do whatever they want, right? They can put all this extra content, not just video content, but text and reviews and all that kind of thing. And so all of a sudden, you know, you have just this world available, this world of content that's available to you. I mean, like exactly what's happening with Yip, right? Now all of a sudden there's this Spanish language service, which is cheap, which all of a sudden just has a huge, just a massive audience. And you don't have to go through that stair step that you had to before with existing operators. So there really is just a tremendous opportunity out there. And for all of you content folks that are sort of on the fence trying to figure out whether or not OTT, whether the time is right, the time is absolutely right. And you really, really should be leaning in and really exploring what the opportunities are and what they can present to you. Anyway, that's the answer to that question. But the question that was presented about sort of how do we help partners is, you know, we help partners in a lot of different ways. So on the platform right now, we have over 3,000 channels, and that's just in the U.S. Roku's distributed in 10 different countries, and so we have a different number of apps, you know, in each territory where we distribute product, both directly and indirectly. But in the U.S., it's over 3,000. So I'm sure a lot of you right now are saying, "Wow, 3,000, that's a lot. How would I get my content, my service promoted?" And we have what we refer to internally as an audience development team. And these are folks that are singularly focused on helping you promote your content. And whether or not it's on device through banner ads and display ads, whether or not it's UI theme takeovers that we've done in the past with Hulu and Showtime and HBO. You may have seen, for those of you that do have a Roku, when Game of Thrones premiered several weeks ago, the weekend that it premiered, the whole UI was Game of Thrones, right? And so when you turn your box on, all of a sudden you saw this Game of Thrones experience, and then you could jump right into the HBO experience. And so we have a lot of on-device capabilities, we have off-device capabilities, we have retail promotions, we have a partner marketing team as well that really is very active and engaged at retail. We do bundle offers. We have just sort of, we have a very, very large playbook that when we talk with content partners that we can sort of sit down and say, okay, here are the different things that we can do. What is your service? Who is your target demo? What are you trying to achieve in the first 60, 90, 120 year of your service? And then we can put together a plan that really can help you meet those goals. And with Roku, we are, with all of our content partners, we are not only the most used, but from an engagement standpoint, we are the highest engaged platform. So people are using devices like Roku because the UI is simple, and it really, and we try to get out of the way from a UI perspective and allow customers to find content as quickly as possible.
So then I want you to jump in too, because Facebook, videos become a very important part of your overall strategy. So how does Facebook kind of fit in, to all this? We're talking about individual services and everything, but as you look at the market, what's happening, and what's Facebook's approach?
Yeah, I lead a team that actually works with streaming partners across the board. Mm-hmm. So we really have seen that very few channels that you can think of actually get the affinity of, like, someone says, I love that channel, maybe a Netflix, maybe an HBO. But last time I heard somebody say, I love ABC or CBS, I love them, I love them. But we just don't have that same affinity with those channels. So really what we're seeing is content is driving a lot of decision-making around different types of OTT services. And for me as a consumer, what I struggle with, I'm a cord cutter. How many cord cutters are in the room? I struggle with, where do I get my Veep, my Mr. Robot, and Game of Thrones? Do I need to sign up for all three? What does that look like later on, right? I don't know. That's a lot. That money signing up for all three is as much as I would have paid for my cable bill. So as we look at what's happening, really our job at Facebook is to help with discovery. We're really good at that. And being able to get the word out to the right people, the right message at the right time is where a lot of our partners have seen the value. And being able to tell those stories with video, and we're playing with all types of video format, whether that be live, 360, you'll see a lot more coming from us, has really seen as a proven tactic for a lot of our partners.
Yeah, no, what you're saying exactly. I think the aggregation is what's probably going to happen over time, a consolidation or an aggregator, because at the same time, you don't want to have three $15 bills out there and then a $5 bill. You'd like to see it aggregated. And so as as I said, we launched with 50 channels. Even though we're Hispanic, we have 60% of our channels are in Spanish and 40 now are in English. So it's because whether you're semi-acculturated or acculturated, but what that's doing is building micro ecosystems of communities. Those communities are having discovery of that. And as an example, to exactly what you're saying, we have Major League Baseball out of Mexico. And all of a sudden, one day in Kansas City, 1,000 people popped up on one channel. We're like, okay, here's fraud. I mean, we're telecom guys. Fraud every 10 minutes is 50 grand in your network, you lose. So we're like all over it. We're like, no, credit cards are good. IP addresses are good. No spoofing of Macs. I mean, all this stuff that you look for in fraud. And we couldn't figure it out. Now, next week, about 6 days later, all of a sudden, 2,000 people pop up. I'm like, what in the hell's going on? So we just happened to turn on the channel at the right time. There's about 30 Major League scouts with guns, and there's a guy throwing a ball about 98 miles an hour for 100 pitches. What happened was, it's from Monterey. That team's, there's a lot of migratory people that work from Monterey into Kansas City for service jobs, and they just started telling their friends, and the power of viral. Exactly. So the discovery was an accidental through viral, and that's where, you know, obviously the discovery part is a big part, and that's what helped us, you know, just grow. And then we started to promote that from within the microbloggers from there. So, but exactly to your point, discovery's key.
Yeah, I'll add one point. We also see that digitally savvy and analytically savvy marketers are really winning in this space. Being able to harness the power of digital and the data to not only create ads, but also to discover what content makes sense. As you said, like, that's really interesting because now you know in Kansas City what could be interesting to the people in Kansas City.
Exactly.
And those people are hard to find, hard to recruit, in demand.
Martijn, go ahead.
I have
what we see
openings.
is what's really important in your service is when you start to make your discovery, it's incredibly important to do measurement. You have to know what happens in your app. How are the people getting into your application? Because we see, for instance, at Roku, a lot of success by buying the ad on the right side. You can earn money with your ads in your application. And it's just like Google AdWords. You can measure how much an ad will cost on the right side and how much you can earn in your app. And I think that goes for all the services that we have, is that at the beginning, everybody makes projections and they're way overrated. Everybody thinks that they will have 100,000 users the first day that they launch their service. But it takes time, and you have to be patient, but also really good to measurement. What are the right places to place your service, and then make it a winning app?
Well, and I think also to complement that and having the experience, what we're seeing is it's right now for us, for our market, we're seeing a bunch of Samsung Galaxy 5s because they flooded the market when the 6 and 7 came out, and they went to all the prepaid Metro PCS, Boost, and Cricket. And that's why we just recently were approved on T-Mobile's Ben John, because it doesn't count against their data cap. But we saw that occurring, so we took the metadata and said, okay, let's go do the deal quickly. It's a benefit to our customer. And then all of a sudden, we get the other two guys calling us saying, hey, we want to be a part of that. So it just, and there's so much metadata around this. You could have almost 355 data points around one stream with one customer. So it's analysis paralysis. We have mounds of it. It's just now picking what makes sense and build trends. And these millennials, good luck. It's literally ADD on crack. I don't know how to say it any other way, and no offense to anything, but they come, they go, they stay, they move on, then they hit an EDM channel. That could be 3 hours, and then 10 minutes over here. I mean, it's like a bowl of spaghetti, but
Bowl of spaghetti, crack, you got everything.
yeah, absolutely.
Gotcha. All right. Well, you know, I know that with a lot of these, you know, over-the-top video services, you know, video is obviously core to all this, but in order to kind of cut through now and you got to attract and kind of resonate with more customers, how important is it now to kind of include like perks and other sorts of ancillary stuff? You know, an example, you know, I think I'm sure Jennifer, you're nodding your head, but the you know, for an example, like, you know, Crunchyroll, you know, I think we're just talking later, you know, they had like a special, you know, with this company called Loot Crate, where it's like you get a box of like goodies and they get like a discount that kind of factors into like their audience, which, you know, is anime and nerdum and, you know, kind of like that group. Anyway, so my question is, you know, how important is it to provide something that's more than just video now?
Well, affinity seems to be a big deal for a lot of the OTT services, and they build affinity through community and outreach, interaction, brand health. And I can't wait to hear the Crunchyroll guy talk, or woman, because the rumors are that they're driving people to the premium tier without changing user behavior. People aren't even enjoying the premium tier perks. It's because you want to be a premium fan of Crunchyroll. We've heard the same things from one of our competitors. I'm not going to give free awareness out today. But in the documentary space, they offer live meetups, information about festivals, et cetera. And so for Filmstruck, we definitely want to build the utility to the app that's outside, that's offline. And we've had a lot of success with that at Turner Classic Movies, so we hope that translates. We have a lot of live meetups, events, licensed goods and products that, again, people are attracted to because of the mission and the genre and the community.
Yeah, it's like, what else can you do to resonate with that super fan? You know?
And that's what we've done. We actually, besides just having live linear, we've had live pay-per-view. So with De La Hoya Productions and Golden Boy Productions, we've done the boxing matches. So out of Vegas or Madison Square Garden or the LA Fight Club. So we'll throw that in there as an added bonus. And then if Roku will work with us on a subsidy, we'll get a heck of a deal going. But no, we agree. There are subsidies you can do. And I think whether it's content or it's devices right now or credits on your mobile bill. So.
Okay. Great. Let's talk a little bit about maybe how some consumption patterns are kind of, changing for streaming video. We see lots of studies that show, like, mobile viewing is climbing, of course, but content, particularly on premium content, still suited, for the big screen. So, I mean, what are you guys kind of seeing now? I mean, is it still, every screen equally important, or kind of what's the trend right now?
For us, I don't mean to dominate here, but for us, what we're seeing is about 75 to 80% is mobile. We're seeing the desktop be probably about 10%, and then the rest being smart TVs and tablets and things. And smart TVs are starting to widen a little bit because of price point. Once it gets below $500 for a 52-inch LED, that's kind of the inflection point that says, okay, I've got either cash to do it or room on the credit card to move that. So, but mobile right now is the dominant space in casting, or whatever you want to call it, through the Roku or Chromecast or any of the other devices.
Which is different from a lot of my partners who tell me still TV is how most of the content is consumed, but the fastest growing is mobile, of course. And at Facebook, we've pivoted to be a mobile-first company. We have 1.5 billion people coming to Facebook on mobile every month, and then 50 minutes per day spent on Facebook, just on mobile, between Instagram and Messenger. So you think about what that means and what we learn from that, and what we talk to our partners about is how do you create content differently in that space when people, again, are scrolling and on the go. So on-the-go content, on-demand content that can live with you from, I was watching it on TV and I had to leave, now I want to watch it on my mobile when I get on the bus or whatever that looks like is important. Also, shorter form content, we're just seeing that as being much easier on the go. Putting your most important messages up front, especially when you only have a few seconds to grab somebody in, are super important.
We see that a little bit different because it really depends on the service. If you have a lot of long-form content, that means longer than 30 minutes, you see that the usage on the big screen devices is much higher in terms of times, or the amount of viewing, so the number of minutes. That's really big. And if you see like the division between the mobile and the web and the TVs, it's about 30% on the big screen, the viewership, the minutes. So that's quite big. But what is important is that you serve the right content in the right moment. So what we see is definitely in the morning when people start to commute, there's much more mobile traffic. In the evening, you see the same. You see that people start off with their big screen, but they watch a lot of content the last few minutes in their bed on their tablet. So it is really important that you have the continue watching feature, that you don't have to search for your content again. And that's what we see with some of the applications, is that there's a really big difference within the users and the marketeers that want the application, because the marketeers want the nicest app that looks really great with all kinds of animations in it, that when you look, you say, wow, this is a really cool app, I want to use it. But the user will think the same the first time he's using the app, the second time he's really annoyed, and the third time he will stop using the application because it takes too much time. And I think in the panel before, it was 90 seconds. Sometimes it takes 40 seconds to get to your content, so only to start the application. So I think that's also really important. Be direct at the right moment.
Yeah, almost like like video games, right? The first time you play it, you do want to see the intro, but by the second or third time, you just want to jump in and get to it. Now, Ed, obviously you guys are big on the TV, and we're talking a lot about mobile, but I mean, as far as like growth patterns on Roku, you guys still are seeing growth, right? Even on
absolutely.
So the TV is not.
Yeah,
dead,
no,
right?
we're big believers in the TV. I mean, all the research that we see across the industry point to the TV is the primary viewing device for long form content. Certainly, short form it lends itself much more to mobile. And we're obviously we're quite bullish on the platform, and to the point that he was just making too about design and the UI. I really can't stress enough just the single word of simplicity. I mean, the UI of your app really needs to be simple, and you really need to be able to get consumers from a TV perspective. You need to get them into your programming as fast as possible, right? I mean, when you think about it, navigation is not entertainment, right? People don't sort of tweet about what an unbelievable UI a certain application has. They don't care. What they want to do is they want to be able to get into Game of Thrones. They want to be able to get into Ray Donovan. They want to be able to get into whatever program they want to as quickly as possible. And that's really important, because if you don't, to your video game analogy, right? I mean, you do, like you're playing Madden and all of a sudden you got all these different cutscenes. You don't care. You just want to get back to start playing the game again. So we really stress when we talk with different services and different developers, when we collaborate on design, is that it really needs to be simple. And the UI for mobile is very different than it is for TV. TV is a lean back experience, as we all know, and so consumers don't want to have to think too much about navigating the programming.
There's one thing that a lot of content owners forget. That's you need a simple service, but it should be really compelling with the imagery that you're using. So all the images that you use, the thumbnails, what we now see is we started with small thumbnails. Everybody started with a grid with small thumbnails, and now you see Netflix started at one of the first with the big, complete screen takeovers if you go to a specific show. Those things you need to make, because normally you don't have that specific type of images. So you need to create artwork a lot, and that's important because to persuade people to still watch your content.
And with as you're trying to target a lot of different specific markets with these services, I mean, what are some of the new things you guys are trying to attract subscribers and viewers, or plan to do in Jennifer's case, that's maybe a little bit off the beaten path in terms of how you promote and get your service in front of eyeballs? I mean, Facebook seems like a great spot a great channel to pursue that. And I don't know if they're talking to you guys directly about that sort of thing, but I mean, what are some of the new things that you're trying to do?
Yeah, Facebook works well, but also you gotta get into the communities.
Yeah.
I think the other thing too is, even though we're a very digital world, there is a significant people that still are offline, meaning you don't see it. So geofencing is a key thing. So
Geofencing?
Geofencing with the mobile. So as you go to like Cayo Ocho, it's about 1 million Hispanics come to 8th Street in Miami. So you just geofence within the million people that are there. As their phone's registered, if they're opt-in, you can go ahead, hey, by the way, did you see that band now? You can watch them on YipTV. So there's a lot of interactive things you can do. The communities today, and if anyone has kids, they don't ever call you anymore, they text. So, and we found in the Hispanic community, 1/3 of the community doesn't even have an email address. So we had to actually go to text-based receipts, notifications, marketing. So that is one of the things we're seeing, online, and as well as grassroots efforts, getting in the community, being interactive with those communities at these events, help as well. So that's some of the different things from a past lifetime of dominating to now, going to a different, startup mode.
Yeah.
It's really tempting to put all the money into performance media, no question.
Yeah.
For targeting passionate film lovers who, have lots of behaviors that are attributes that would be easy for us to go find together, no question. But I think it's really important, especially a new brand, to also have community-driven and PR-driving and mission-driven, for Filmstruck, film preservation and education will be a part of it as well.
Yeah. And it seems like if you're going to target a super fan, community is just as important. Instead of just going with like a blanket, sort of, you got to be very targeted, just like as targeted as your new content is going to be. And then, Ed, I think you talked a little bit about how services can kind of surface on Roku. So is there a way to kind of buy premium real estate on there?
Yeah, absolutely. Of course. See me after. Yes,
I got a service in mind.
Yeah, there certainly is. And when you talk about all these different business models, one of the fastest growing business models on the platform that we're seeing is advertising, right? So out of the 250 most popular apps on the platform, over half of those are ad supported. And the reason for that is because ad tech is starting to mature and season. When I started the company back in 2009, there was no advertising supported content. Now it's over half of the activity that we're seeing on the platform is through channels that are ad supported, and we've built out a very, very robust ad team based out of New York, and we've done deals with Nielsen, right? We're integrating Nielsen ratings into the platform, and we have very, very rich targeting capabilities through our Roku ad framework, so you can really target by demographic, time of day, user behavior, all those types of things to really, really sort of hone that message on the platform. But that's just sort of one of the areas that we can sort of help out, in addition to just all the different things that we have to sell you from a promotional standpoint. If you are thinking about advertising, there's a lot that can be done there as well.
And Facebook is really the home of discovery and probably one of the best targeting tools out there. We have, as I said, 1.5 billion people. We also are playing with a lot of different tools to help get the story out there right. So in the last year, we've launched lead ads, we've launched slideshow, we've launched dynamic product ads, and we've launched Canvas. I don't know if you guys have seen Canvas, but it's a great immersive experience that allows advertisers to do text, video, images, etc. And for example, Netflix used it when launching Narcos, really to tell more of a story of what Narcos was, because as you said, you also have to get awareness, especially of new shows and things that don't have an audience following them. The other thing we see, we do two things, right, with advertisers. Sometimes we say go after niche audiences, who the low-hanging fruit is. Other times go broad and see who actually starts to respond, especially if you don't know your market yet. And then we can pivot very quickly using that data and target whoever's that low-hanging fruit that happens to respond to your advertising.
It may go without saying, but it's really, if you're from a traditional company, which I am, it's also reframing marketing from an expense to an ROI driver.
All right. And we have a few minutes left. I have some other questions, but again, we want to give everybody a chance to pose a question too. So if you have one, raise your hand. We'll get a microphone to you. And okay, there we go. Just wait 1 second.
Hi there. I was wondering if any of you read last week's article about Netflix's analysis of binge watching and the difference between devouring and what content was being devoured versus savored, and if your companies are responding to that in any way.
Anybody want that?
I've read it.
Who wants to take a shot? Go ahead.
Well, I think it's interesting that they actually looked at how people are consuming it differently. There are shows that everybody wants to get in and watch and know what happens, and there's others that's like we're almost like doing the marshmallow test with and savoring it and seeing it over time. I don't personally have information around what you guys may be seeing in terms of the content space, but anything interesting there?
Yeah, we don't get a whole lot of data from Netflix. Yeah, exactly. It's a wonderful
Join the club.
Wonderful
Yes.
black box that sits across the freeway from our office. But obviously a fantastic partner. No, I mean it is fascinating, right? And sort of in this space as we're evolving, and sort of they've introduced this whole notion of binge watching, and really sort of changed the whole way that we consume content. And it's really interesting to sort of watch how that evolves. And I think Netflix is doing a lot of really interesting things because they are investing so much in original programming in so many different verticals, which I think is really smart. To your point, too, about if you don't really know who your market is, sort of put it out there and figure it out. And so I think they're benefiting from that because they're putting a lot of different stuff out there, and they're kind of seeing what sticks and what resonates, what's more popular than perhaps they even thought themselves. So I think I think the market is really sort of in this state of constant testing and evolution, which is fascinating.
Well, and I have a question too about binge watching. Like, who on the panel watches Game of Thrones? None of you guys? House of Cards. Okay, House of Cards. All right. Well, like my whole example got ruined because no one's watching this.
We'll go with it.
Watching that show, I can't believe it. Now, for you, all right. obviously, would you, kind of now that you've been into the series for a while, I mean, would you rather have the opportunity to binge, or would you rather have like kind of the idea of a weekly handout?
It's so hard. I remember the first season of House of Cards. After we got to the second season, it was a year later, and I didn't remember what had happened, and then had to play catch up again. And then the second season, we watched it. We spread it out a little bit more because we're like, darn, it's over. We don't want it to be over so soon. It's just a fun, Sunday night. So I've enjoyed extending
Kind
it a
of
little
taking
bit.
it in chunks and not the whole.
Yeah, so it's interesting how, I mean, my current binge thing is a show called Justified, which is on FX, which was a couple years ago. Raylan Gibbons, U.S. Marshal in Kentucky. It's pretty awesome. But what I like about it is that I can actually watch the whole thing now, right? I mean, I sort of knew that it was on. I was like, well, I'm not going to watch it now. But now that I have access to all six seasons, I can kind of sit down and sort of at my pace, I can watch the whole thing, because it seems like we're starting to get away from that sort of water cooler event where, I mean, there are things that you have to watch that night and watch the day after, and I know we are an anomaly here because Game of Thrones is wildly popular. HBO is probably going to be very mad with me
not on this panel.
that I don't watch Game of Thrones. I better go home and start watching it. But there are some events obviously that are going to continue to sort of dictate what we talk about. But there is sort of this very large shift where we're sort of moving away from that, and people are watching it sort of on their own cadence, and that presents its own set of issues.
And we'll see the same thing with sports, because on Sunday and Saturday with the European La Liga, you'll have multiple games going, and then you'll see them go from, and if it's a close game where it's an equalizer, they'll stay pre and post game. If it's a 4 blowout like the Clasico previously, halfway they're gone and they're on to whether it's the next soccer match or whatnot. So our binging's a little bit different because it's live, but they'll binge on sports or entertainment. We'll see them because they'll go novella after novella.
Okay. Well, Mike, you got the last word then, because we're told that we are out of time. So please join me in thanking our great panel for their insights.